Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Real Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, PJ, also known on Twitch as Dirty Mike. And I got Adriana over here today laughing at me. She's my special guest for this episode. And Adriana is my co-host on another podcast I do called Totally Plausible Conspiracy Theories. How's it going, Adriana?
Oh, it's going a little sick, but we're doing all right otherwise.
Yeah, I noticed you were laughing. I'm like, this is how we always... for people who want to check out Totally Plausible, we do it live on Twitch every Tuesday about 5 or 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then it goes up to YouTube and iTunes and all that good stuff. For people to listen to later, we talk about all kinds of conspiracies and aliens and all kinds of cool stuff, which is why this episode is kind of a special fun one, because we're talking about The Thing.
It's true. The Thing. The
1982 John Carpenter film. And we're going to talk about the 2002 video game adaptation of that movie. So yeah, anyway, how's everything going other than being sick?
It's going good. Work's been busy, but it's Friday tomorrow, which is nice. And then Saturday. And then Sunday comes afterwards? No, dude.
Who put a question mark on the teleprompter? Anyway.
No, it's going good. I'm real excited for the weekend. I'm real tired. But yeah, almost the weekend. Work's going well. Lots of animals to shave their balls. Don't worry about it.
Lots of fun stuff. So Adriana works at what do you call it? I almost said animal shelter, but I'm like, that's not exactly
at a nursing home.
At a nursing home.
No, I work at a high volume spay neuter clinic, which is the animal shelter, but it's like the animal shelters. It's like an offshoot. We're kind of like the rejects over on a little like island of 5 of us. It is with the animal shelter, but yeah, we do high volume spay neuter for the public, so it's real cheap. So we try to target people who maybe couldn't afford a private vet clinic, so to help get their animals spayed and vaccinated. So it's really fun, and I'm really happy and proud of what we do, because we're able to get a lot of people in who couldn't afford it otherwise. What are you laughing at?
No, it's really fun. Just, shaving cat balls all day.
There's a lot of other stuff, but yeah, a big part of the job is literally just shaving balls. And anyway.
All right. Well,
there's that.
If you're listening to this, it's when it first comes out. This is October now. Well, we're recording this October 1st, and this is the second episode that we're doing this month of all horror movie themed stuff. We started off the month with Alien, the 1979 Scott Ridley film, followed by the game-based kind of on it, sequel kind of ish to it, which was Alien Isolation. And now we are talking about The Thing, because basically I was watching Alien, and if you guys want to check out that episode, it was really good. We had Watch Holly on there. She's a horror streamer. It's a lot of fun. But I was watching the movie, and I just kept thinking to myself, there is no character development at all in this movie. And it's not that I don't like the movie.
An Alien?
In the Alien, yeah. It's like, I like the movie, but there's just no character development
That's the one with
whatsoever.
Winona Ryder, right?
No, it's
no.
Every time somebody says the wrong name of an actor or actress, I instantly blank, and I'm like, shoot.
Wait, so who plays? Okay, so what am I thinking with Winona Ryder with Ripley?
No, that is Alien, but that's a sequel.
Oh, so what's the first one?
The first one.
Well, now I'm all confused.
You just totally messed me up. I can't believe I'm having to IMDb the name of this actress who I know so well. Sigourney Weaver. Gosh dang.
Oh, Sigourney Weaver. Duh. I could have told you that.
Seriously, it's just like my brain triggers like a blank whenever somebody says the wrong name of an actress. I'm like, wait, I know this.
And then wait, just kidding. Actually, I don't.
Yeah. So Sigourney Weaver. Anyway, my point was I kept watching that movie and I was like, man, I like this movie, but I think I like The Thing better. And it just kept reminding me of The Thing. There's some backstory there with how the guy who wrote it had worked with John Carpenter on an earlier kind of sci-fi horror / comedy film called Dark Star, I think. And then he ended up writing Alien. And I was just like, I like Alien, and I really liked Alien Isolation, the game. But I was just thinking, now that it's October and I want to watch like other creature films, I really wanted to watch The Thing, and I ended up looking it up. I had no idea there was a game based on this movie. Did you know that there was a game based on The Thing before?
Now, back to creature films. Do you ever debate whether Jaws was considered a creature film? Do you ever settle that debate the other day?
Well, like, here's the thing.
Jaws is a creature. It's just a big shark. It's technically a creature.
Yeah, if you consider Jaws a creature film, it's my favorite creature film. But I always think of creature films as like sci-fi, or as like creatures that wouldn't normally exist,
Have you ever seen a shark that big?
Okay, fair enough. Also, if you watch the sequels, you get into Jaws having like telepathic abilities and like all this crazy shit.
What?
So yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm really glad I've never seen the sequels.
Watch Jaws: The Revenge. We did an episode on it, and
sounds horrible.
I did it with Pat Mo, and we talk about how Jaws basically Jaws. I don't know why I keep saying Jaws. Jaws 4, whatever. This other shark that's not the original shark.
Oh, there's more than one.
It's chasing down the family for some unknown reason.
This poor family needs to just stay away from the ocean, dude.
It makes no sense. It's one of the best stupid plot devices I've ever heard of. But if you consider Jaws a creature film,
yes,
I would call that my
do.
favorite. And then I would say The Thing would be my second favorite. I love this movie.
I do too. I really like it. I had seen the 2011, I think that was the remake, or it's like
a prequel.
It's like a
actually,
prequel, yeah. I have seen that, and I had not actually seen the original Thing until we all watched it Tuesday. Yeah. A few days ago, actually.
I just thought this would be a perfect one because it is, it's aliens and it's, kind of in our lane for the podcast. So
aliens.
What did you think of the prequel? Since that was the first thing you saw.
I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember liking it. Like I remember watching it. For some reason, the only memory I have of this movie, like I remember liking it, but all I remember is a scene in Antarctica where something comes up from the ground, and I think someone falls down a hole, and that's like the main thing I remember from that.
Yeah, I honestly,
I remember liking it.
I remembered seeing it when it first came out and liking it as well.
Yeah, I just don't remember much.
But it's been so long, I don't remember much.
No.
I just remember the ending. That's the only thing that really stuck with me.
I remember the beginning, which is what stuck with me for some reason. It didn't have Tom Cruise in it, did it?
No.
Who
It didn't have
it
Tom
in
Cruise.
it?
It had Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Okay, he
it
was
had
the main guy.
Joel Edgerton, or however you say his name.
Sure.
And that blonde dude from Dumb and Dumber.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah. You think he's like Tom Cruise? It's like it's either Tom Cruise, Risky Business, or it's that one dude from Dumb and Dumber, the guy that tried to imitate Jim Carrey poorly.
Is it not Aaron Eckhart? Is it? Well, now who is? Please IMDb this because I gotta know.
You need to like study IMDb, like
please.
Sigourney Weaver is.
Is it Channing Tatum?
Yeah. Is it Channing? No, it's not Channing Tatum. But I remembered liking the movie. I remember the end.
Yeah, I
don't remember. Like, I feel like if I went back, I feel like there's some hate around that film because people look at it as a remake, and it's not technically a remake, which is why I like it. It's from what I remember, it was kind of. It had some CGI that was iffy in spots, and it had the whole thing that makes me love The Thing so much, and why I liked the
thing
prequel.
That makes you love The Thing?
Yeah, exactly. It's The Thing, right? The thing about the prequel, I keep saying The Thing. It's gonna screw up this whole thing.
No, when you're trying to tell me what you wanted to talk about, you're like, so you want to talk about The Thing? I'm like,
no, I know.
Okay, but what thing? The Thing. Okay, but
That's what I'm
PJ?
saying. It actually makes it more confusing how many times I'm saying
what the fuck you want to talk about?
The Thing. What I like about it is this whole concept of not being able to trust the people around you and not knowing who it is. It's like a whodunit with a horror film where it can be anybody and it can change. Like just because it wasn't character A at one point doesn't mean later they're not actually the Thing.
Can we talk about the fact The Thing is basically just Among Us, the movie? Right?
That's
Among
actually
Us
what I want to talk about because
yes.
when we're talking about video games, we obviously do have the 2002 Thing video game, which we'll be talking about in a bit.
Yeah.
But Among Us is blowing up right now, and you have to grant a lot of that success to the fact that people like these types of things, and maybe I'm sure it took influences from The Thing.
Yeah. By the way, Among Us is horrible. I love it, but I always get blamed for no reason. I'm never actually the imposter. I literally get voted off every time. People are like, well, you're suspicious, so vote Adriana off, and it's never actually me.
Adriana is suspicious when she's innocent, as much as she is when she's not. You say you're bad at lying, but the thing is, you just got to get people to realize that you're always suspicious, and then they'll just stop suspecting.
No, they always suspect me. If anyone who I play with is watching this or listening to this right now, fuck you guys. Anyway, point is, I just get voted off every time. It's no matter what. I just no, I swear to God, guys, I was actually I just don't remember what I was doing. I have no memory of what I was doing. And they're like, yeah, John did it, so us voting her off. And it's like, you've been ejected. There are still 2 imposters remain. And they're like,
I get voted off a lot because I don't do the tasks in the order that everybody else thinks I should, because I don't want to be near certain people. I just kind of run around, do them sporadically, and nobody knows where I'm at. And I'm like, yeah, I probably make myself out to be a target more than I should. I almost never get voted off when I'm actually the bad
imposter,
thing.
Yeah.
Because I play smarter, but when I'm playing. And when I'm innocent, I'm just running around doing tasks. It was like, that's really sus.
Because the problem is when you play, we have a big group of friends that we play with, and the issue is we all know how each other, how we play the game. So if someone acts out of character, immediately well, that was, a character from Z voted off. So it's hard to play the same people over and over because then they learn your patterns, and it's like, well, fuck, if you change something up, then you're just voted off.
I think that's part of why I play so sporadic, because I don't want to be predictable when I am the actual villain.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people are like, this is how I play every time. And then as soon as they're not there on scanners or something, you're like, okay.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Because I've played with people that literally all they do is they're like, I'm going to be on scanners till the end. And I don't know, gives it away a little too easy when they're not.
When they're hanging on an admin table
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
time,
when they're hanging on an admin table.
constantly.
Yep. So anyway, enough about Among Us. I want to talk a little bit about the movie first, and then we'll talk about the 2002 game. So for people who are not familiar, I know we've been kind of going on about this. I feel like this is a movie everybody should see, especially
It's really good.
Especially this October. It really does hold up really well. It's one that uses practical effects. Really, I know some people rag on the practical effects, but I actually think they're still pretty good.
I think that, this is what, it was 1982, yeah. I think that for the special effects, like, I would have not pegged it for an 80s movie. I would have probably pegged it for, like, early 90s. The effects here and there, like, they aren't amazing, obviously, because it's an 80s movie, but, like, they did really well. Like, there's no... I like that they didn't use, not a lot of CGI or whatever.
It was all
It
practical
was all
effects.
practical.
They spent, like, $1.5 million
I think they did a good job of it.
effects.
And, like, it made it... I really like the practical effects. I like they didn't use CGI, especially for the time. I feel like CGI was not in its,
Yeah,
prime
CGI is
in
only
the
just
80s.
now starting to look a lot more realistic,
Yeah,
in all
exactly.
honesty. Like, even if you go back and watch movies 10, 15 years ago, like, at the time they were cool, but you go back and you're like, yeah, sometimes the practical effects even look better
I think
than
I
even
really like
10
the
or
practical
15-year-old movies with CGI. Case in point, the prequel, the CGI in 2011 in that movie was really good in spots, but in other spots, it definitely took you away from it a little bit from what I remember.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, I went into this movie knowing that it was an older movie, so I wasn't expecting the effects to be astounding, obviously.
Honestly, some of the parts where they kind of stood out as a little bit jarring or off, it almost made it creepier.
Yeah, like, there was I remember one part where it was, I think there was the guy with the two, or, like, when it was a thing, he had the two faces or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that was definitely, it was obviously practical effects was the idea, but yeah, it made it more jarring because it looked creepy. Like, it looked really weird.
I thought the part where Windows got his head chomped on and he's like thrashing around, like, you
Yeah,
could tell
yeah,
it
yeah.
was puppets, but also at the same time, the way they moved was so odd and creepy that it made it feel like a creature a little bit.
No.
Because in a way, it is kind of a puppet in of itself, you know?
Yeah, the thing is kind of, it takes over other people's bodies and, like, it uses them as a puppet, essentially. So, it basically is a puppet.
Yeah, so for some backstory on this, The Thing is a 1982 American science fiction horror film directed by John Carpenter, which I mentioned, and it was written by Bill Lancaster. The screenplay was.
Yeah.
But this is based on a 1938 John W. Campbell Jr. Novella called Who Goes There?
Who Goes
and I
There?
actually got a chance to find this on Audible. They actually re-released it in audio form after the 2011 movie came out, and it's got this, like, preface. It's got a preface that kind of tells you a little bit of the backstory about John Campbell and about the making of the 1982 film and stuff like that. It's actually very interesting. And the story, the novella, it's about a 2-hour listen on Audible. It's actually really good. And I want to say the reason that they wanted to make the 1982 The Thing was because there was a 1951 movie called The Thing from Another World, which was based on the novella.
Okay.
But it changed a lot of things, including the fact, I think a lot of this maybe just had to do with special effects, or I guess they could have found other ways to do it. But essentially, the Thing wasn't transforming to other people. It was just this monster. So they're all in Antarctica, which is the basic premise of the film. This group of scientists in Antarctica find a UFO, and then there's this creature that they get out, they unthaw it. It's a little different in the movie to the book, but I'm kind of going off the book.
Why would you
a little
unthaw
bit.
it? That seems like the worst idea. Hey guys, you have this frozen creature. Let's just unthaw it. Where there's no one around us, it's just us. We're just in Antarctica. All around us is just penguins, which I love, by the way. But all we have is penguins. Like, let's unthaw it. Just see what
It's
happens.
even worse in the book because Blair in the book, he's like, yeah, we're all getting these weird telepathic dreams about this thing, even while it's in the ice. And in our dreams, when we unthaw it, it comes alive and kills us. And also it can imitate us, and it can read our minds.
But, like, no,
but
we're
let's
good, guys.
unthaw
Let's
it because
unthaw
it's the only way I can get a tissue sample to study for my Nobel Prize
Why
I'm trying
can't
to
they,
win
like,
or something.
saw off a piece of tissue with like a hacksaw and then thaw the single piece of tissue?
Yeah, there's a whole
Wait, I'm
whole
confused.
debate on this, and Blair ends up winning that argument. And they unthaw it. In the movie, it's a little different because there was another group of scientists that unthawed it already,
the
and then they
Norwegian
kind of
scientists.
find it. Yeah, the Norwegian scientists, which is kind of what the prequel is about.
Yeah.
But anyway, the whole book, that's kind of like we were reading it, listening, going, okay, you're all having these weird telepathic dreams. Maybe don't unthaw this thing.
So, pro tip, if you guys ever find an alien and it's frozen in ice and you start getting weird telepathic dreams about how it's going to kill you, don't unthaw it. In case you were curious and weren't sure what to do in that situation, just don't unthought, okay, guys?
Yeah.
Life hacks there, friends.
So yeah, it was based on this 1951 film. They didn't have the whole it taking over people and imitating them, which is the whole premise of the book and the 1982 film, which kind of. I mean, I've heard things that the 1951 film is good. I've watched bits and pieces of it.
Yeah.
It's not, to me, it doesn't hold up. And I'm not a person who doesn't like older films. I just didn't particularly appreciate this one.
I think you were alive when that came out, weren't you?
No. I do like older films. It's not this black and white or whatever.
I like older
I just
films
think
too.
that the 1982 film was much more true to the actual novella. And the whole thing that makes The Thing so much scary. I know, I'm saying it again.
The whole thing.
The thing about the thing is that the whole idea, the whole concept that makes this frightening in my mind is the fact that you just don't know who to trust. And I think they do that so well in the 82 film.
Yeah.
There's all these shots like the first time you see the dog and you kind of, if you know a little bit about it, you're kind of suspicious of this dog.
Spoiler,
You realize
the dog dies.
Yeah, all the dogs die.
All
You're
of them.
suspicious of this dog, coming to this camp. These Norwegian scientists are trying to kill it and they're like, oh, this dog's fine. And you see this scene where there's a shadow of somebody and you can't quite tell who it is, but I think I could tell who. I think it was Palmer.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Because Palmer does end up turning into the Thing later in the testing scene. But
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that kind of shows that Palmer was the Thing the whole time after that moment, but it doesn't get revealed towards near the end of the movie. So there's all these moments where you're like, okay, keeping track, like who went where, when were they alone? Who could it be? And even the cast apparently wasn't told until they actually filmed the scenes where they turn.
Oh, that's so cool.
So when they're filming these scenes and they're talking and debating and arguing with each other about
like
who
Among
to
Us.
trust. It is. It's like Among Us, but it was like even more real for the actors because they're like, I don't know if I'm the Thing. I'm just trying to defend myself, and I don't know if he's the Thing.
So is Palmer the dog handler?
No.
No, okay.
He was the one that actually was not turned. Because he's the one that attacked Kurt Russell's character.
That's right.
McCready. He attacked him with a knife and he shot him.
Yeah. Okay. So what's interesting is because I can't remember who was turned. Really, I can't remember what I had for breakfast. But anyway, so I really can't remember who was turned and not turned. But I remember in the movie, the dog handler guy whose name was what?
I can't think of it off the top of my head. But
so there's a guy who was a dog handler, and so in the beginning of the movie, the dog came running across the ice. They took this dog in. It got shot because the Norwegians trying to kill it because it was a Thing. So you're kind of led to believe that the dog handler, who was alone with his dog and trying to mend it, and was
Well, the dog wasn't shot. It was just shot at.
Shot at. I think they shot his leg.
No.
Oh, it was just shot at. Oh, sorry. Yeah. But so this dog handler, regardless, is alone with his dog. One of the characters even asked, like, how long were you alone with this dog? He's like, I was alone with it for like an hour or two. So you're led to believe and think that the dog handler is the guy who is the Thing. That I feel like I personally.
The whole movie, you really do think that he's the Thing.
Yeah, that he is the one especially because the Thing in the form of the dog kills and attacks the rest of the dogs and then tries to take over their bodies. Like the dog handler is around the whole time. Like, so you're led to believe that the guy who, that's who the Thing is, and that's what you're led to believe. Which is interesting to me.
Which is even crazier when you realize that at this point where Blair's really pointing the fingers at him, Blair's probably already been turned. And one of the things that the movie doesn't explain well that I wish it would have, that the book explains, that the book actually explains I hadn't heard explained anywhere else, is the way that it imitates people isn't just by taking over their body and looking like them, but it actually can read their thoughts. So it knows how to think and act like the other creatures. So sometimes it'll act against, which is again, it reminds me of Among Us and reminds me of board games like Secret Hitler, which I played recently, which was a blast. If you guys want to check out, really
Secret
good.
Hitler or
The Office is based on Secret Hitler. It's just Office themed version.
Yeah, there's a Secret Hitler. There's Town of Salem is similar.
Oh, I've never played that one.
Mafia is similar as well. All kind of similar veins where you don't know who's the killer, whatever it might be.
I love games like that, and that's another reason why, like I said, I love this movie, and I think the video game is different, but it actually adds in, we'll get into that in a bit, but it actually incorporates some of those really cool features of not knowing who to trust. And so like the whole thing is you're trying to figure out who this guy is, and you think it's the dog handler, and then the characters, even the ones who are the Thing, are acting their own self-interest, because as you find out later, they are kind of, each individual part acts on its own behalf. That's why the blood test works. That's why it splits into multiple creatures and stuff like that, which was really cool. That
I like
spider head thing was maybe my favorite
I feel like they did that really well. I feel like they did the blood test where when it exploded, and I feel like they did that movie, that bit of that really, really well. I really like that. Yeah,
and the book, it kind of is the whole point, is like them trying to find a test that works. So the book obviously ends very different from the movie. Also in the book, there's like 37 people there instead of however 8 or 12.
There's like 8 or 12, even that.
Yeah, it's not that many. So, I mean, which makes sense because you need a smaller cast of people to in 2 hours to understand and care about and get attached to, and not so many places to point your fingers. You got to kind of limit it.
Yeah, exactly. Can you imagine if there was an Among Us game with 37 people?
No, it would be terrible. It'd be terrible.
It would be awful. It'd be awful, dude.
Yeah, so definitely keeping a cast like this less than 10 really does help. But anyway, like the whole thing is they can act against each other and they know how to act like the person. So when Blair is going crazy and breaking stuff in his lab and saying, I don't trust any of you, you come to find out he is already been taken. And that's what's so crazy. He's acting like Blair would. The thing is acting like Blair would in the situation to essentially get everybody to believe that he's so scared of being taken over that he couldn't possibly be it.
So what I couldn't figure out from the movie, and maybe it's just me just missing it, but when the thing takes you over, does it like go inside your body and take you over? Does it make a new body replica?
So
and where
I'm going to base this again
go?
off the book because I feel like the book explained certain things better.
Yeah, I don't think the movie explained that very well.
There's parts of the movie and the game and other media based on this that kind of confuse it a little bit. But the way I can understand from the book is it basically absorbs your body and then replicates and splits. So the original body still exists, right? So if the dog takes a person over, it splits back into a dog and that person.
Okay.
So it essentially like devours your body and then rebuilds it as itself.
So it's like a weird giving birth.
Yeah, kind of like if you watch that part where he's showing the assimilation and the computer model, like the cells are taking over the other cells. So it kind of like, as far as I can tell, like infects or digests this person in a way so that its cells are completely taken over and replicated by this creature's cells.
Tasty.
Yeah. So if the thing takes over another person, it doesn't just become that person. It just becomes two. It stays its original self because of the body mass or whatever, how's it explained in the book.
Okay.
So like the way they explain it is the creature when they found it was just in its normal alien form and it weighed about 85 pounds and it took over a 90-pound dog. So it still had 85 pounds left over to replicate another dog or another something, right?
Interesting.
Yeah, anyway. So basically that's the thing is like it can create multiples. It can keep growing and creating more and more of itself. So it's not just one creature becomes two, it becomes four. It becomes everybody eventually, right?
Everyone is
That's why it shows on that computer model that if it got out into the public, it said something around just over 3 years, it would literally take over the whole world.
And it was like, I think it was 3 years of 22,000
I think it said
hours.
27,000
hours or something. Or was it?
Days or hours or
it was
whatever.
hours. It's 3 years. It's not 3 years.
I did the math. Okay, it's just over 3 years.
365. So
I'm not going to do it in my head.
You want to talk about the 365 days in a year?
24 hours in a day. I don't know. My point is, it's a little over 3 years. It would literally spread over the whole globe and take them over. So basically, they're just trying to keep this thing in Antarctica and keep it from getting out, which kind of leads to the end where they're just like, we're not going to survive this thing. We're going to we're going to sacrifice ourselves if it means saving the whole world.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was not a popular thing for this movie to have done in 82. This movie came out with very, very bad reviews right off the gate.
Did it really?
Yeah. So basically, we'll get into that a little bit. I want to talk about the production of this a little bit. There's some interesting stuff. So this actually began to be produced in the mid-1970s. Like I said, they want to make a faithful adaptation more than The Thing from Another World, which we already said wasn't very faithful to the story. And there was a few people that pitched the ideas and ended up going to John Carpenter kind of after he proved himself with Halloween to be able to do really good horror movies. Yeah, not that Halloween. And the filming ended up beginning in August of 1981. It lasted 12 weeks.
That's it?
Yeah, it was actually pretty short. I believe they filmed in Antarctica and then they chilled a studio in LA.
Wait, they actually filmed it in Antarctica?
Or no, sorry. They filmed in Alaska.
There you go.
Yeah. They filmed in Alaska and then they chilled this studio in LA so that way it would be cold and the characters could look believably cold. And
so I like the fact that the main guy, was it McCarthy or
McCready?
McCready, the guy with the bomber jacket,
Kurt Russell, yeah.
Yeah, it's Kurt Russell. So this dude, he's a pilot, right? This dude goes out and flies his helicopter. He's wearing like this bomber leather jacket. He's wearing like sunglasses, like a hat. It's
and
like,
then some weird sombrero. I love the hat. And
it's like, are you not cold? How are you even functioning?
It's a great hat. It's
fantastic.
The most non-practical
but it's
thing
not
to
warm.
wear.
It's like a sombrero cowboy hat hybrid.
Yeah. Some other cool things about this movie. It was actually storyboarded so extensively before filming began that their work ended up detailing the shots almost exactly the same as the storyboards, which I love because
It's cool.
I love it when movies take the time to do like a lot of prep. It always shows in how well something
Just
comes
like
out.
we do with our podcasts.
Yeah. So basically, it reminds me a little bit of Minority Report, which we talked about a few weeks ago, with them actually taking and storyboarding these out with Photoshop and making 3D models that they were eventually able to use for the production of the game, which I thought was cool.
Minority Report was a fantastic movie.
Oh yeah, I love Minority Report. This movie had a $15 million budget, and 10% of that $1.5 million was actually spent on Robert Botton's creature effects. You'd use a mixture of chemicals, food products, rubber, mechanical parts, and kind of turn these all into these different aliens that could take on all these different forms. I thought the creature effects is definitely one of the best parts of this film. Not to mention just the plot of it all. The acting is great. I'm a huge fan of Kurt Russell. I thought Keith Davids did great in this.
Now, can we talk about diabetes?
Yeah, I was about to say. And Wilford freaking Brimley is in this movie. Every time I see him in a movie, I'm like, oh yeah, he used to be an actor. He wasn't
I
just
didn't even know he did that. I just thought it was diabetes.
Yeah, I think he was in one of the Tremors movies as well.
Did he tremor because he had diabetes?
Because he had diabetes. I just kept waiting for him to say my blood sugar's getting low or something. We need to hurry this up.
I got the diabetes.
But yeah, so this movie ended up coming out in 82. It had all these really negative reviews. It was described as instant junk by the New York Times.
So my mom calls me.
That's what she said she's like, what do you want to name it? I don't know, instant junk.
Instant junk.
Instant junk. Well, you got to give it a real name.
No.
You name it. This is actually proposed as the most hated film of all time by film magazine Cinefantastique. Cinefantastique. That sounds like way too highbrow of a
really does.
film magazine for me to read. Yeah, there's some other interesting quotes. Alan Spencer of Starlog magazine said, "This is the most brutal thing I've ever read about a film. A film that I like, by the way."
Yeah, this is a great film.
It is. It later got, recognized. But at the time it came out, it was just people said it was too nihilistic, too dark. They didn't like the ending. They didn't like especially the gore, because this movie's very gory, the creature effects. I guess it grossed people out, including the cast. The cast was so grossed out by these things that it just... I don't know. They couldn't handle it at times. They're just so gross and realistic looking, I guess. I don't know. Compared to today's movies, it's not that gross, but it would be a little weird to see your friend, like a realistic model of your friend's head on a tentacle thing coming out of somebody's gut.
I, for one, would love to see your head chopped off. Realistic model or your real head. Either way.
No hostility here. So anyway, Alan Spencer of Starlog magazine said John Carpenter was never meant to direct a science fiction horror film. Here's some things he'd be better suited to direct: traffic accidents, train wrecks, and public floggings.
That's brutal, dude.
That is brutal. That is damn. I wish I don't agree with him, but I wish I was that good at insults.
Dude, it sounds like that Dr. Cox from Scrubs, dude.
That's
all I ascribe to be is Dr. Cox.
He does. Alan Spencer is the magazine writer version of Dr. Cox. Probably goes around calling everybody Shirley and Susan and a bunch of girl names and stuff.
God, what a fucking great show, man.
Oh, man. I love Scrubs.
I need to finish Scrubs. Fantastic.
It is great. I will say this. I think I've told you this before, but don't watch the ninth season that does not exist.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. We don't talk about that
what
season.
Are the Scrubs interns?
What is it JD and what's the man? It's JD.
Turk,
yeah.
Oh, man.
Everyone makes fun of me for being like JD because my thoughts connect in my head, but I say random shit all the time.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, I just say random shit that makes no sense anymore about me. But it connects somewhere in my head, but then it makes no sense.
Do you also have a shower wallet? Did you see that episode where JD's got a shower wallet?
Okay, so sometimes I need to buy stuff. I have a shower beer on occasion.
Yeah, that's normal. This film actually earned $19.6 million during its theatrical run, but with a $15 million budget, it made it only the 42nd highest grossing film of 1982, which is pretty low. I don't know how many films came out in 1982, but it wasn't a box office flop. It made money.
It made money, just not a ton.
But not much. It lost out to E.T. It lost out to what was some other ones? Poltergeist came out at the same time. So I think in its fourth week, Poltergeist's fourth week in theaters, it was still doing better than the opening week of The Thing.
Poltergeist is great. That's a great movie, though. I really like that movie.
Oh yeah, I'm not dissing Poltergeist. I just love The Thing. Some reasons cited for the failure of this was basically people wanted more hopeful movies like E.T. So E.T. did really good that year because it offered a more optimistic take on alien visitation.
We got to talk about E.T. for a second.
Yeah.
We got to talk about
So
E.T.
we were originally going to do an episode on E.T. because the E.T. video game is notorious for being maybe the worst game ever made. And
We didn't.
I realized that I know this will piss people off. I realized that I've never liked
I
E.T.
hate E.T. I hate it with a passion.
Hate E.T.
I really hate it.
And I also haven't seen it since I was a kid, but I
just
remember
really
not liking
hate
it. And I was like, we can't do an episode on E.T. together because we'll both just trash this movie for an
And
hour.
then you never realize your podcast
And I'm sure
again.
people are going to tune into this podcast like, oh, E.T., I love that movie. I'm interested. And it'll just be like,
We
yeah,
fucking
I
hate it.
this.
Okay, I just really.
So I'll have to find a host that actually likes E.T. so I can sit back and go, okay, why do you like this?
I just really.
movie?
E.T. is just.
I get why people like it. I
do
just, for
too.
some
I
reason,
just really-
I don't. And I think it's just,
He's creepy.
I don't know what it is about the movie that rubs me the wrong way. I just don't like it. And
No,
I'm not
like,
sure.
I'm
It's
pretty
not because it's a
sure-
bad film. It's not because it's done poorly. I think Steven
No,
Spielberg's a
the
great director.
film
I
itself
just,
is great. So
I just personally don't like it.
my issue with E.T., I think, is like I like scary movies. I watch a lot of scary gore movies. I love alien movies. Fantastic. For some reason, E.T., it just really creeps me the fuck out. Like I watched it as a
Maybe
kid.
it's because he looks like an older version of Herbert the Pervert from Family Guy.
Like I watched it as a kid, and then my mom took me to watch the remake I watched it as a kid, and then they did a remake. I think in the 2000s, early 2000s.
They did a remake of E.T.?
Not a remake. I'm sorry.
A re-release?
Re-release is what I
Okay.
think. It was like an extended cut
Yeah.
in theaters. I think probably the early 2000s. So my mom took me to see that, like hoping that I would like it more. And that I was older at this point. I was probably like 9 or 8 at that point. I cried in theaters. And like I grew up watching Signs. Like I grew up watching scary movies that they didn't bother me that much. But I don't know. There's something about E.T. I can't even like to this day. I will not watch the movie because it scares me. And like that's so stupid because it's a kid's movie. And I watch shit like or the weirdest shit that's like shit and this shouldn't be scary to me. But I sit there and I'm like, I can't.
Talking about kids' movies, did you know that Poltergeist, which came out the same year, was rated PG?
Yeah,
That's another reason why it did better than
ratings were different back then.
Oh, no,
though.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking to myself, like, yeah, there's no nudity or gore in it, but like,
It's a
I can't
little
imagine
scary.
taking a 5-year-old to see Poltergeist.
All I'm saying is E.T. should have been rated R for like horrifying.
For creepy.
I hate him. Anyway.
In my defense, I did actually recently buy E.T. because I haven't seen it since I was a kid and I wanted to rewatch it and
Okay.
cover it on this podcast at
Next
some point.
week.
So I might not hate it as much watching it now with a critical eye, but I just remember as a kid, I hated it. And I don't know why I hated it as a kid, but I've just always carried that through my whole life of just not liking
all right,
that
next
movie.
week's movie night we'll do E.T.
All right, that'll be fun. So anyway, some other things. People have often compared The Thing to similar films like Alien, which we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
Where I actually like I almost said E.T. I like The Thing
hate
better
E.T.
than
here.
Alien just for the fact that there is so much more character development and the whole them turning on each other, not knowing who to trust, is such an interesting dynamic. I'll keep saying it, but that is what makes this film great, in my opinion.
And I like that too. I don't know, because it's just, I don't know, it's interesting because I think films obviously have that, but
because you're not relying on jump scares.
this
You're
just
not relying
does
on
it
visual
well.
scares.
And it's kind of that whole, not meta is not the word I want, nihilistic maybe, but like, I don't know.
It was considered a very nihilistic film. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you can't trust those around you.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing to me is like, I can, especially going back to older movies, it's easy to look at the special effects that were great at the time and not be as terrified by them, or the sound design or the acting. And this had all of those. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is it's easy to watch movies, especially if you watch a lot of horror movies, and get the tropes and not be as freaked out by them or intrigued by them because you kind of know what's coming. But in this film, you don't really know who to trust. There's times where you could believe that it is McCready, or you could believe that it's Childs. You could believe that it's McCready.
It's high noon.
McCready. We're not talking about that game. But I love that aspect. I would like to see more. And a lot of movies have kind of copied this and done things similar.
Yeah.
It's been a very inspirational film for the movie, for how much flack it got at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, other movies have taken inspiration. Like I said, Alien, and just I forgot where I was at.
And like even like
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah.
It was some people at the time called it derivative, which I don't really agree on. I think they were thinking of The Thing from Another World, not realizing that it is kind of a remake, but more of a true retelling of it based on the being more true to the novella.
Yeah. And even back to the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. There's a movie that I really liked that I don't think was really a big hit. It's called The Invasion. It has Nicole Kidman in it.
I feel like I've seen. I definitely know of this movie, but I don't remember much about it.
I personally really liked it. I don't think it was ever like a big hit or like a big critical success or anything like that. I just liked it. But that's kind of the similar principle where this alien organism came down from space and it took over people's bodies, and it it's like you don't know who to trust, and it's a little bit obviously very different. Like it's got a different plot, but same premise. You don't know who to trust. You don't know who's an alien and who's not.
It's like you said though. That's why I feel like Among Us is doing so well right now, because it is so much fun to put yourself in that situation where you don't know who to trust and you're all pointing fingers at each other and arguing. It's like some people can't handle it. I've definitely played games like that with people who are like get so upset. No, I like it.
No, I do too. But
I've played with people who have rage quit. That's what I'm trying to say.
I have too. But no,
but I enjoy the back and forth, the banter, the fun of pointing fingers at your friends when you know they're innocent, just to see if you can convince people. It doesn't even matter because I literally get voted off the first round for no reason. I'm just like, yeah, Adriana sus, vote her off. I'm like, I did nothing. I said nothing. She's being too quiet. I'm like, I literally just, nope, vote her off. When I stream Among Us, I have a rule that if Binks is playing, who was a guest on this podcast, the first episode, we talk about Constantine. If she's playing, we have to vote her out first round no matter what. Yeah, because she's always the most sus.
Yeah, Binks plays with us, she ends up getting voted out. She either like ends up being the killer and like wins, or we just I think every time we accidentally,
anytime that I tell people to vote her out and they don't listen, she wins every time.
Yeah, no, Sylvia.
Every time. She's good at it.
Yeah, so Sylvia accused her, saying, I think it's Binks. Sylvia voted for her. I was already dead at this point because they just voted me out for no reason. So Sylvia accused her, and no one else voted. So Sylvia was the only one who voted. She voted for Binks. No one else voted. So Binks got ejected out, and we're sitting there in the chat like, fuck these guys. Like, they're still two imposters. You guys voted out two innocent people for no reason. Anyway, I like that game a lot. But like, even if it didn't knowingly take, I'm sure it did. But if it knowingly,
I'm sure it did.
Yeah,
even if it was subconsciously, it definitely is something that's influenced everybody. I feel like if you haven't seen The Thing, you've definitely seen its ripples in other media and video games, movies, all of that. So as far as this thing, whatever. I'm using thing way too much. As far as this movie not getting praise at the time, it also didn't really get any awards at the time. It got some. The Thing received nominations for Best Horror Film and Best Special Effects, but it lost to Poltergeist and E.T.
Can we fucking talk about E.T.? I hate that movie.
But the one award this film did win was a Razzie Award for the worst musical score. I want to push back on this a little bit. The musical score is not crazy, but I think it's the subtle dun 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 thing. I think that subtle heartbeat type thing. It adds suspense. I actually like the score of this film. There's other parts of the score is, forgettable, but I just like that main theme to the movie. I was rewatching it. I watched it a few times over the last few weeks just because I like this movie so much. I was rewatching the first time a few weeks ago, and I'm like, man, I really dig this opening theme. It's very subtle. It reminds me of Jaws in a way where when Steven Spielberg first heard the score to Jaws, he's like, is that it? Like, where is everything? And he's like, no, it's supposed to be,
subtle and
build up the suspense. And I feel like this, not to the extent that Jaws' theme does, obviously. That's a much better theme. John Williams is fantastic, but I do enjoy the main theme of this, main score of this movie.
No, because I remember listening to, like you mentioned when we were watching, like, like you told me, like, oh, it's kind of subtle. And like, I liked it. I liked that. So I don't remember there being much.
It's just a little bit of tension.
Yeah, a little bit of tension build up. There's not much,
It's not over the top, but I think that worked for this movie. It's a more subdued movie in a lot of ways.
Yeah, exactly, which I really like.
I mean, it's over the top with the gore and violence and stuff like that, but it doesn't ever feel gratuitous. It feels especially watching it now. Like, I'm sure at the time people were grossed out, but I watch it now and I'm like, I've seen a lot of worse. I've seen
with CGI.
Like Silent Hill was a very gory movie. I remember the first time I watched that being a little grossed out, but I like this movie. I'll just keep saying that. It did find an audience after it was released to home video and television, stuff like that. It kind of gained this cult following. A lot of filmmakers have noted that it has influenced their work, and it spawned all kinds of merchandise. It had a novelization. There was haunted house attractions. There were board games. There's actually pretty interesting comic book sequel, like a 3-part comic book sequel it's really beautifully drawn. Huh. Kind of explains the end if you want to believe that. The game actually does kind of explain the end more. All right, so let's talk about the end a little bit of this movie. What did you think of the way it ended, and what do you think maybe happens afterwards? I'm kind of curious because I think everybody has a different take.
Because I know the video game was a sequel. I mean, I personally think so.
Before you played the game, though, what was your thoughts on it?
I mean, I thought that E.T. came to Antarctica and saved them. But no, I mean, it's interesting because in the end of this movie, you have two people sitting together.
Yep.
And you don't know whether they're going to live or die. I think they talked about like, should we? I think when one of them mentioned Kurt Russell was like, well, we should die here in order. I think we should die here.
They basically is like, we don't have the energy to fight each other. We're just going to sit here and drink this whiskey and see what happens.
Because they didn't know if they were the thing or not. And I think that I really like the ending because it doesn't specifically say like, you don't see them die, but it's just kind of left with the assumption that yes, these two people are going to die in Antarctica. Like they're either going to freeze to death or one of them is going to be the thing and kill the other. And then at that point, the thing still has no way to get off Antarctica. Like the helicopter's fucked, I think, at that point.
I'm a big fan of open-ended movies when they're done the right way. And I think this film does it so well where you could make the argument that either one of them could be the thing at this moment.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you could make the argument more for Childs in my opinion, but either way, I feel like you could make the argument that either one of them is the thing.
Yep.
Neither of them trust each other, and it leaves you there, and it creates conversation after the movie, which I love a movie that I can go home and debate with people and think about and be like, okay, well, is this what it meant? Is this what happened? And kind of argue the finer points of it. I love the ending of this film.
That's why I really liked. Well, I liked Inception and Interstellar, both of those, because you could kind of debate what happened.
Yeah.
And even like a lot of like Signs, like M. Night Shyamalan.
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 Yes.
I like
Shyamalan.
Like Signs, other movies like his. Like I like movies where you can debate where it's not a clear cut.
Yeah, I agree. And in all honesty, I've definitely seen media, movies, video games, things like that had kind of open-ended endings, and then they end up making sequels later on that kind of ruined it.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want the sequel. I don't want that.
You think you do until you realize you don't.
Yeah, and then I don't want that answer, I kind of like movies where it just doesn't... It lets me decide how I want it to end.
Yeah, I think my number one favorite thing to mention is Twin Peaks. There's the first two seasons back in 92, 93. And then 25 years later, roughly, they bring out a sequel, which everybody thought they wanted, and then it just didn't answer a lot of questions. It was kind of unsatisfying in my mind. I know some people love it, and I'll piss them off, but that's my honest opinion. And I felt like I was better off debating for years and years and years on what happened and always coming back and rethinking about this particular ending, which was really open-ended and weird, and not being like, okay, well, the answer was unsatisfying. Was
Twin Peaks the one where he like went into a town? Or is that the other thing I always get confused?
You're thinking of of Wayward Pines.
Wayward Pines, yes. Okay, that's
which is also good.
Yeah, I had the book and I want to finish the book, but I haven't had a chance and I haven't watched the TV show yet. But
yeah, I can't remember the name of the author off the top of my head, but he's a fantastic authter. He wrote another book called Dark Matter, I think.
Yes, I hear that's really good.
That one is fantastic.
I think Elise was talking about that.
Elise, yeah, Elise, my sister, she read it after I told her to.
Yeah, I think Elise was talking about that.
Because she's the one who introduced me to Wayward Pine.
Yes.
And he's a fantastic author. I think it's Blake
Shelton.
No, not Blake Shelton. Anyway, look those books up. They're good. But I think I'm a fan of more open-ended. I would rather have something to discuss afterwards than have an unsatisfactory answer. I think that people always have this need for catharsis, but sometimes giving people something to talk about and think about is more satisfying over a long period, or more
than a definitive,
interesting and entertaining.
Here's what happened. Yeah. Here's the ending. Here's exactly how it ended.
Yeah, I definitely am a fan of that ending just for that reason. So we did talk about the game. We'll get into that a little bit now, because the game, we'll mention this towards the end, it does kind of answer this question. According to John Carpenter, who says the game is canon, who was a fan of this game and kind of helped work on it a little bit. He was a cameo in it as well.
Yep.
And I got to say, after I started playing it, I kind of remembered, okay, I remember this game coming out. Now I remember hearing about it.
I had never, but
I never had played it before. And I got to say, I'm actually a pretty big fan. This game came out in 2002. It's a third-person shooter / survival horror kind of game. It was developed by Computer Artworks and co-published by Universal Interactive under their Black Label Games publishing label and Konami. So there's a whole lot of people that worked on this. Basically, there's this point where Universal Studios began looking through their back catalog of feature films that they wanted to have these potential adaptations for video game franchises. And the first one they decided on was The Thing, which I think was a great way to start. Yeah, it was a great thing. Other games that they've done was The Grinch, The Hulk. I've never played The Grinch.
I really hated The Grinch growing up. It terrified me too. I was just a very sensitive child.
I loved that movie. I watched it every Christmas.
I love it now. I think it's fantastic, but I just was scared of it as a kid.
But yeah, The Grinch, the cartoon version, not the Jim Carrey movie, was based on that.
Yes,
and then The Hulk, which was based on the Hulk with Eric Bana. Is that his name?
The Hulk was based on the Hulk?
No. There's different movies. The one before Edward Norton.
Yeah.
And then they did the Jurassic Park game. They did Scorpion King games and some other stuff like that. So that's some stuff they did. But the Hulk was a great game, which I will end up talking about at some point. But the Thing was actually probably the best one they made, I would say. So yeah, this game was released for Windows, it was released for Xbox and PlayStation 2. There was a GameCube and Game Boy Advance version, but they both got canceled in early development, which is fine. I mean, I guess it wouldn't have been that hard to port it to GameCube, but honestly, what I've read is that the Windows version, the actual computer version, in some ways is better because of the aiming and a few other little things. I believe that.
Yeah, I was trying to
play a little more polished, a little bit better. I guess the PlayStation 2 version, which is the one we played, has the most bugs and glitches.
I can see that. I was trying to play using the controller, and
so as much as I liked it, I feel like I would have liked it even more if I had gotten the computer version.
Yeah, so like it's interesting because I didn't have a PlayStation growing up, so I had Game Boy and GameCube. So I never played this game growing up, which is sad because I feel like I would have really liked it. But yeah, for the Windows, at least when I played it on, I played it on the PC, but like I used a controller and stuff because
the PlayStation 2
emulators.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the controls were a little bit wonky.
Did you switch it up to?
I did switch it up to 3.
Even when you switch it, the controls are
still a little
for sure.
bit wonky.
They're a little bit dated.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely they're dated, and they're also like I was using an Xbox One controller, not a PlayStation 2 controller.
Yeah, so was I.
So like they're a little bit different, obviously. But the controls are a little wonky, and the aiming. Like I first should have played on the first setting, and I was like, I can't figure this out. I'm trying to change it to 3. I'm like, I can't even get I was trying to figure out get to change it to 3.
Yeah.
I changed it to 3. Even then, it was still a little bit like it was dated. I mean, that makes sense. It's it's 2002 game, but.
I mean, besides it, I mean, we're playing this 18 years later, but I feel like, especially if I would have played this at the time and had been used to controls that were more similar in games back then like this, even without that, once I switched up the controls and I got used to it, it was, still a little wonky, but it actually played way better than I thought it would. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't beat the game, but I actually do want to go back and beat it because I actually really enjoyed what I played, which I wasn't expecting to enjoy a 2002 game so much. I actually really liked it. I think this is the third game I've reviewed on this podcast that came from 2002. So I did Spider-Man, Minority Report, and this one by far blasts the other two away. Yeah, and this is a much better game than those ones, in my opinion. This is actually set as a sequel. Yes. Interestingly enough, to the 1982 film. It focuses on a guy named Captain Blake, who's a member of the U.S. Special Forces, and they're basically sent to Antarctica to discover what happened at the end of the film, what happened to the research team. And this game, like I said, was endorsed by Carpenter. He voices a character who's kind of in it for very short. But it's interesting when if you know what John Carpenter looks like, you see him like, nice little nod to, What's even cooler is how many nods, especially in the beginning of the game, there are to the film. Like you find the ice block in the Norwegian camp or whatever that they had dug out of the spaceship. Yep. You find the recording that McCready left right before he does the blood test thing. Exactly. There's a lot of you find the spaceship that Blair was building. So there's all these like cool little nods to the film. It does basically look like the camp. What I love, well, first of all, what did you think? I mean, you said you liked the game overall, but what was some of your favorite parts of this game? I don't know. I liked the fact, I think when we talked about actually in the car, we were driving to get the mic that I forgot. I liked that there was that fear and trust system. Yes. Or basically how that worked is, so it was, you're the main character, Blake, but you also have a team of like 3 people, I think you started off with. You have up to 3 other people. Yeah. And you have to either make them trust, like there's a trust fear system, so you either make them trust you or they're afraid. And if they get too afraid, they kill you, as I found out several times because I accidentally shot one of my buddies, and they're like, "Oh, well, we're gonna," which is fair. I'd probably kill somebody too if they shot at me. But yeah, that's a fair response. That's a fair response. But yeah, so if you do you can give them guns and stuff like that to increase the trust that they have with you. Or it'll also depend on which types of guns you give them and stuff like that. Or they get afraid depending on the situation they're in, the room they're in, or and I think there's soldiers, medics, and electricians or something. Engineers, engineers, and the soldiers will get afraid less easily, and then the medics get afraid more easily because the soldiers are like big dudes. Big burly dudes. Yeah. I do really like the fear trust mechanic. I think this is such an interesting idea that I've not seen duplicated in a lot of other games. Yeah. And they pulled it off rather well for a 2002 game. I do think it was interesting because the whole thing about the movie that really translates to the game well, and why I love this adaptation, is you get that feeling, at least to some degree, that you don't know who to trust because your teammates can get infected or turn to the thing, or you can find them, they're already infected and they'll turn on you at random times.
Yep.
Sometimes it's scripted. The biggest thing that kind of brought the fear trust factor system down a little bit was when they originally did it, they planned on having it be completely random. You don't know who's going to turn and when. And on subsequent playthroughs, it would change, and you would never know who to trust.
So you never know.
But because the game was story driven, it had cutscenes and it was scripted a little bit.
Yeah.
They did have to kind of scrap that. So there were certain times where people would turn every time, or there would be weird things like you would get to an elevator and be like, "Oh, the next area is going to have more dudes for you to pick up. So see ya." And one time I got to an area and a guy says, "I'm staying back," and I heard him as I entered an elevator. And then all of a sudden it went to cutscene. He was gone. And I was like, shit, I could have taken my weapons back from that guy because it didn't matter if I pissed him off anymore.
Yeah. Because he was gone after the cutscene. Yeah.
And most of the time they're pretty generous with weapons and ammo, so it's not a huge deal. But at that point in the game, it was pretty limited. The biggest thing is health kits. Health kits are the precious cargo. And that is why if you end up screwing over a medic and he can't heal you, it's really hard. I got to one point in the game where I had 0 health kits and I had less than half a bar of health, and I got to the first boss. And it had been so long since I had saved. So the way I play games, especially games like this, is I will save every save on a different file back and forth. So that way, if I just saved, but I put myself in a bad situation, I can go back just a little bit and kind of catch up to where I'm at.
Back, bitch.
But this time I had been like, man, I did so much. This level was a pain in the ass. I don't want to go back and redo that. So I fought this boss battle for an hour and a half, just over and over and over again, where I was like, I have to do this whole boss battle without getting hit even one time. And I perfected the boss battle and beat it. Got to the next level, accidentally went to the main menu and had to do it again.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was bad.
So
People were watching me stream that were cheering me on for quite a while to get through that boss battle.
Cheering you on.
It was fun. But I do like that whole system. I like how if you piss people off enough, they can change and even fight you, even if they're not the thing, because they just don't trust you either.
Yeah, that's what I was saying too. I kept playing the game when I started off, and I kept pissing people off by accident because I accidentally would shoot them. Which again, fair response.
It can be pretty easy to accidentally shoot your teammates in this.
Yeah, they were just turn on me.
One of the other things about them turning on you and stuff like that is like the fear, right? Because we're talking about the trust thing, but like the fear part of it. There's this whole thing where I realized at some point in the game that you can tell your squad to stay behind.
Yeah.
Because if you go into certain rooms where they're just bloody, like guts and things everywhere, your teammates will literally start throwing up and freaking out.
So your teammates are little bitches.
Some of them are. I mean, one guy started crying in the corner and like rolling around on the ground like a crazy man.
Me, and, every morning when I wake up.
At one point, I went into a room that was just blood and guts all over the walls, and a guy freaked out and started shooting me. I mean, it's pretty intense.
But yeah, like I said, mentioned earlier too, I accidentally just kept getting murdered because I kept shooting my teammates, and it was just. But I did really like that mechanic. Like I think we talked about in the car that other games would try to replicate it, but I think this one just did it really, really well. Whole fear and trust mechanic. I'm
trying to think of other games that have done it as well as this, and it seems like in the last 18 years somebody would have implemented. I'm sure there's some example that I'm just not thinking of.
Yeah, I'm sure there's something we just can't think of.
But I honestly, if you're a big fan of the thing, I actually recommend this game. And obviously I recommend Among Us if you're just a fan of this type of horror, as far as like not knowing who to trust and just want a fun game to play with friends.
Or if you just really want to skim at your friends and accuse them and call them names.
Yeah, if you really want to destroy certain friendships, Among Us is a great way to do it.
I'm pretty sure I've lost like 4 friends playing that game. It's fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
I've pissed a few people off.
Have you? Really? You?
Just a few.
Shocking. Never. I don't see you ever doing that. No.
But yeah, no, I actually would recommend this game. It actually got pretty favorable reviews on all platforms. PlayStation 2 has an average score of 78 out of 100 according to Metacritic. Xbox 78 out of 100. PC has 77 out of 100. The Eurogamers, Kristen Reed scored this. This is where I'm going to push back a little bit. There are some negative reviews, and one of them was Kristen Reed from Eurogamer scored the PlayStation 2 version a 5 out of 10. I think PlayStation 2 version, as we said, is kind of the buggier one.
Yeah, it was a buggy, wonky
so that
control
might be
system,
part of it. But she said, this is where I kind of disagree. She said the trust fear system is nowhere near as much of a neat gameplay innovation as the hype had some people believe. As a squad-based game, it would work far better if you had to care a great deal for anyone's survival. As is, most of your teammates split off once a level's over or turn into aliens at predetermined moments. So you're left merely using NPC as a means of progression.
Yeah,
which I kind of agree with. I don't think it brings the score down as low as she said.
Yeah.
I think the trust fear system is really cool and I appreciated it, but it definitely could have been implemented a little better.
Yeah, because it seems like, the NPCs kind of come and go. Like,
I do agree. It would have been nice. There were some moments where you're stuck with some of them for a decent amount of time.
Stuck with them.
Well, you know what I mean. But
them.
You do lose them fairly regularly and you kind of move on. Or if you're bad at the game, you end up killing them and just running around the game solo.
Look, they killed me several times.
But I mean, I'm just saying, like, especially for 2002, I think this was very innovative. I think that it was implemented fairly well. It could have been implemented a little bit better. There was actually a planned sequel to this before Universal Studios.
Oh, was there?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly what happened, but there was at some point a planned sequel for this. It just didn't happen. I think one of the studios or one of the publishers went bankrupt or got bought out or something like that. But I mean, I would like to see more stuff like this. I feel like The Thing is a property that could definitely make a modern day game.
Oh, absolutely. Especially if you took it kind of maybe in the direction Among Us went, make it a multiplayer. I mean, not necessarily, but one way you could take it is a multiplayer online game.
Well, I mean, you could actually do both. You could have a story that's similar to this and then have an online game where somebody's infected and you don't know who it is.
And they have to see the thing I always go back to Among Us because I'm playing it a lot. But like with Among Us, when you're the alien or the imposter, you just kill somebody. But I think I was talking about this with actually Drake or Beer Achilles on your previous episode a couple episodes ago, that like you could do it where someone's the imposter, but they actually infect somebody, like that infected game mode, and Call of Duty has an infected game mode, but also do it where you don't know who the next infected is. So then they infect somebody, and then you're both trying to do it.
There have been gameplay styles like this.
Yeah.
There's been Halo's done stuff like this.
Yeah, Halo. That's the one I wanted. It was Halo, not Call of Duty. Halo. I think Call of Duty. But yeah, Halo's the one I wanted.
Yeah, sometimes I look back at these older movie-based games and I see stuff today coming out like Blair Witch and Alien Isolation, which are both newer and they're not directly based on the movie. Kind of like this isn't directly based on, but more based as a sequel. And I think that there is a lot of potential there for older properties that people really like to kind of revive them and make them into really cool modern day games. I mean, this one was 20 years after the movie came out, and it did pretty good at the time. It sold over 1 million copies worldwide. At the 2003 Game Developers Conference, it won Game Innovation Spotlight Award, which would definitely agree. It's weird because it's not just a movie-based game. It's a movie-based game that actually innovated and did something interesting. It's not a horror game in the pure sense that you're not really scared of stuff. You definitely have a lot of ammo, but there's some jump scare stuff like that. But it's just a fun shooter based on a really good license. It's got some really interesting concepts. And I got to say, I've played a lot of older games recently, especially for this podcast, and some of them I just really want to get through. And this one, I find myself wanting to keep playing.
Yeah, I want to go back and finish because, like I said, I didn't beat it completely. I want to go back and beat it completely because it was... I actually really liked it, and I was surprised at how much I actually enjoyed it.
It's surprisingly is a game I would actually play through again at some point. I definitely enjoyed this game, especially for an 18-year-old game. A lot of times you go back and like, that's neat, and I can see what was great at the time, but they don't hold up.
Yeah.
And this one doesn't hold up in every aspect. I mean, graphics-wise, stuff like that. The shooting, once you get used to it, it's really not that bad. I would actually be very interested in playing this game again if I could get the PC version.
I would be too, yeah. I would like to do the PC version.
And kind of see what that's like. Tom Ham scored this game for both the PlayStation 2 and Xbox versions as a 4 out of 5, so this is a more positive review. And what he said is, not only is this game a solid action-adventure frenzy, it also manages to tell a tale that is truly chilling, combined with top-notch graphics, incredible use of sound, and a very cool trust/fear interface. The Thing manages to do what so many movie licensed games have failed to do, succeed. And I think that's pretty good summary of what this game is.
Yeah, I mean, and like I like it too. That's like we mentioned earlier, it's based off of the movie and whatever, but it's actually a sequel. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you like to see more games kind of try to imitate that fear trust thing or stuff like that?
I really like that mechanic, and I think it's a very unique mechanic that obviously would not work in every single game, but I would like to see it implemented in different games. Like, I mean, because I play a lot of video games, and I mean, even just video games where you have companions or whatever, like just that kind of implementation of fear trust where either you lose your companion or your companion kills you or they just go run away, whatever it might be. But just that fear trust system is very interesting and unique. And I think it worked very well in this game.
Yeah, for sure. One of the other things I forgot to mention
Yes.
is there are these plasma tests that you can give people.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a reference back to both the movie and the book. They tried to make it work in both the movie and the book, and it failed both times. But there was this idea for this plasma test instead of the hot needle thing, which is kind of what they come up with.
Yeah.
In the novel, part of that is because the creatures can read your mind, so you had to come up with a thing that they couldn't foil, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
So, they have this serum test, and you can actually give it to your teammates when you first meet them to kind of test if they're the thing, which I found out is not always the best, because you can just, if they are the thing, they'll still fight alongside you until they turn. So sometimes I found not doing that. But what I realized later on was that you could actually give it to yourself in front of your new teammates, so they would trust you more.
Yep.
And I wasn't implementing that perfectly right off the bat, but I thought that was a pretty cool feature.
I like that too.
There's a lot of little things like that. One of the things I had trouble with in this game was the flamethrower and the grenades. I know it's probably because it's dated, but I killed myself with that fucking flamethrower and those grenades so much that when I was watching other people play the game, I was like, man, if I would have used grenades, I think I would have had a much easier time, but I just became so distrustful of them. And this game does what a good horror game should do. And it doesn't give you automatic saves. It actually makes you save at certain times. Yeah. It makes your deaths more meaningful, and it makes you have to be a little more cautious, which some people don't like. But I think in a horror game, especially like Resident Evil's done this.
Alien Isolation did it.
Yeah, Alien Isolation did it. I think that actually is important in horror games. It means you're not running into danger all the time and getting killed quickly because you know you'll just reset, which as I've said before, when you die too many times in a horror game, and I'm not saying this is a horror game per se, but when you die too many times in a horror game, you stop being scared of the monster. When you have to play more cautiously, when your deaths mean more, it definitely does add a fear factor. And I've tested this out on many games, and that's why I felt like The Evil Within was so good in the beginning and so not good later, because you just end up getting used to dying a lot. And
then it just becomes less scary.
Yeah. And I felt that way about towards the end of Alien Isolation and Blair Witch, the same thing. Like, they were scary until I kept dying, and then it was like, okay, well, now I'm kind of over that part.
I'm kind of over it.
So I liked that, but it made me very fearful of using the grenades. It's very easy to light yourself on fire with the flamethrower.
In real life and in the game.
Yeah, in both. In both. So, I mean, those mechanics were apparently much easier on PC. Another reason why I feel like I would have preferred to play this on PC, and why if I replay this in the future, that's what I'm going to try to do. Try to find a version of it that way. But it's definitely a much better game than I had hoped for.
I was actually very impressed with it.
Yeah, I would honestly recommend this game if you're a fan of older squad shooters, if you're a fan of the thing, if you want to learn more about the story,
or if you want to shoot your teammates.
Yeah, just to explore this trust fear system is really neat.
It was pretty nifty.
Or just to go into some of those areas and kind of revisit the scenes from the movie. I am going to give a huge spoiler here. If you guys like not knowing how the thing really ended, apparently this game is canon according to Cameron. So the end is very interesting. Some of the plot towards the end I didn't think was all that innovative. I thought the story was pretty cool, and then it kind of became, I think Resident Evil 5 kind of ripped this off a little bit. It became basically, hey, I'm infected, but I can control it, Wesker.
Yeah, by the way.
And then it became, I'm going to take a plane and gas all over this thing, Wesker and Resident Evil 5. So there are many games who have kind of referenced the Thing and the Thing video game, maybe.
Yeah.
Which was interesting because those definitely came out after this. So I noticed that I'm like, this is the plot of Resident Evil 5.
Wait a second.
But the thing that I thought was interesting, skip ahead 30 seconds if you don't want to hear this, MacReady is alive.
It's high noon.
MacReady is alive at the end of the game, and he rescues you in the helicopter, and before he turns around and says his name, because you see that goofy hat that you were talking about. And I was like, oh shit, that's MacReady. They never say what happens to Childs. I assume he's the Thing.
Yeah, or he just died of the cold.
Or just died of the cold.
But
MacReady comes back, and I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, he rescues you.
I always imagined in the end that MacReady was alive and that Childs would attack him at some point.
I always thought they both died.
Or something. I mean, probably, in all honesty, but I kind of liked. But the thing is, in every version of canon or non-canon adaptations after this game, MacReady does live. So he lives in the comic books. They're based on him after the end of the movie. You just want Kurt Russell to die.
Yes, I do. I'm just kidding.
Man.
Kurt Russell's
I'm a
great.
big fan of Kurt Russell.
I actually don't really know much about Kurt Russell.
Yeah. So you don't like
I don't dislike him. I just don't know much about him. I couldn't name a movie that he's been in aside from The Thing.
other John Carpenter films with him, Escape from New York and Escape from LA are pretty great.
Again, I go back to why are they escaping from these cities? Like, what the fuck happened?
You gotta watch the movie, man.
Well, I don't have the movies.
I own them both. You can borrow them. I also own Bone Tomahawk, which I would suggest if you're a Kurt Russell fan, if you like westerns, if you want a movie that's also very gory like The Thing, and
yes,
it's actually a very good film. But I think that's about all we have for this episode on The Thing.
So
Do you have any
too.
closing thoughts on this?
No,
or?
I mean, it was a very good movie. And again, I want to read novella, not a book, but the novella. And I want to go back and watch that older film, the 1951 film, even if it's not great. I just kind of want to complete my saga of The Thing.
Yeah, me too. I think I'll
saga.
watch that now that I was watching the trailers and some reviews on the 2011 movie. I'm kind of interested in rewatching that as well. So, first of all, if you guys want to find me and Adriana doing our other podcast, it's called Totally Plausible Conspiracy Theory. You can find it at twitch.tv/totallyplausible, where we stream live on Tuesdays. And those episodes come out for everybody to listen to or watch on YouTube, because those are actually done live and with a camera and pictures and all that stuff.
Our shining, beautiful faces.
So it's not just audio. There's stuff to find for YouTube. I'll link that in the show notes. And look us up, follow us anywhere you listen to podcasts. Adriana, where can people find you at?
Oh God, I haven't streamed Twitch in forever. But my Twitch is just Call Me Sandwich, and I think my Twitter is Call Me Sandwich. But yeah, I need to get back to. I used to stream on Twitch quite a bit, but with my job, it's been a little. I have a lot of stuff going on in my life right now, so I'm trying to manage everything. But I try to stream on Twitch at least a little bit here and there.
Yeah, so I'll link those in the show notes below. And again, if you guys want to see me play these games for the podcast, I always try to preview them before we record these episodes. It's twitch.tv/dirtymike_TV. I stream other stuff. For October, I'm going to be trying to do a lot of horror games. Man of Medan, we played Phasmophobia a little bit. Just a bunch of different stuff, maybe some Silent Hill thrown in there. So there's where you can find us. Also, if you could follow the Real Gaming Podcast on Instagram or Twitter, it's at Real Gaming Pod. That's real with 2 E's, like movie real. Thank you guys for listening to this episode. And until next time, keep it real.